Hi, good afternoon, guys. First thing I gotta say is Texas is Bitcoin country. Thank you. That was supposed to be up when I said that. So my name is Lee Bratcher. I'm the president of the Texas Blockchain Council. We are making Texas a leader in blockchain innovation and Bitcoin innovation. We're the ones that helped write the policy along with our legislative champions that passed last week. I'm going to talk a lot more about that, the Bitcoin bill in Texas. So first of all, it's important to note that states are great incubators of policy, right? Hester Peirce, SEC commissioner, has said that very thing. ARU, state associations, are working together to establish thoughtful public policy. She's here today along with several other state associations from across the country. So if you are part of a policy organization in your state, link up with us afterwards. We're amalgamating our influence to make things happen on the federal level. Ari's raising her hand. I see Allie here. There's probably several other from other states. Okay, House Bill 4474, the Bitcoin bill. What is it? What is it? What did it do? First of all, do me a favor. Take out your phones. And I'm going to wait till everybody does. Take out your phones and go to Twitter. Follow Tan Parker and Angela Paxton at Tan Parker Texas or TX at Angela Paxton TX. These are the two people that made this bill possible. All right, we had lobbyists, we had people, but these are the legislators that made it happen. All right, they persevered, and I'll tell you a little bit. It was not an easy process. So go ahead and send them a tweet at Tan Parker Texas, at Angela Paxton Texas, and tell them thank you for the perseverance in getting this bill across the finish line, because it is huge for Bitcoin. So a couple weeks ago, throughout the legislative session in Texas, Joe Kelly, CEO of Unchained Capital, Christopher Calicott, Chief Investment Officer for Trammell Venture Partners, several others who are here. In fact, I think Patrick's here as well. We were down in the Capitol testifying in front of the Senate Business and Commerce Committee and in front of the House Financial Services Committee to try to educate legislators about why it's important to have the right public policy around virtual currencies and crypto. And they call them virtual currencies for the purpose of the Uniform Commercial Code, but when I say that, just hear crypto and Bitcoin. So it comes about a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago, I get a text, it's about midnight, and this is one of the last days of the legislative session. And they said, hey, the Lieutenant Governor is about to kill all the bills left on the calendar. Not because he doesn't like the bills, but because he's retaliating against the Speaker of the House for not passing some of the Senate bills. So they're in the same party. It's not like it's inter-party rivalry. It's just House versus Senate. So that means that Bitcoin's bill is going to die. So this is midnight. They're still in session. The senators are there on the Senate floor. And I get on the phone with Christopher Calicott and I said, hey, we need to rally the troops. We need to rally the Bitcoin community to get this bill passed because our senator has 12 bills on the local and consent calendar. And the Lieutenant Governor has just told her that she can pick one of them that will pass. So 1 out of 12. And if it doesn't pass, Texas legislature meets every 2 years, so we're looking at another year and a half before we can do anything. So by this time, it's like 1 in the morning. We're calling, we're tweeting. The Senate staff is still in their offices at 1 a.m. They're picking up. Senator Paxton gets the message. She gets the message from her staff. They're all like, hey, we're getting hundreds of calls. We're getting tweets left and right. Apparently, we've got to pick the Bitcoin bill. And she does. So it passes about a week ago at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, yeah. So Texas becomes the second state in the country to define virtual currencies. Let me tell you what the bill does, sort of in layman's terms. Again, this is it's very legalese, but it defines what virtual currencies are. It defines what it means to control a virtual currency like Bitcoin, even in a multi-sig arrangement. So if you have the majority of the keys, then that is control. And most importantly, and the folks at Unchained will tell you this, most importantly, it establishes that a security interest in a virtual currency can be perfected by control of the currency. So previously, you would have to file like a UCC1 or a financing statement for a general intangible like that. Now in Texas, you do not. So that allows for institutions to get involved. That allows for a lot more lending with crypto and things like that in Texas. Of course, Wyoming as well. But Texas economy is huge. There's a lot of this stuff that goes on in Texas. So that's very important. Governor Abbott is bullish about Bitcoin. Have you guys noticed on Twitter that he stated that Texas is becoming a mecca for Bitcoin miners? Last night, he put out a video of him signing House Bill 1576, which is our blockchain working group bill, the second bill that we got passed. And then next week, he's already intended, he says as soon as it hits his desk, he will sign House Bill 4474. He put that out in a tweet. Furthermore, please, I know this is probably being recorded. Feel free to share this, but in a way that we're not saying what actually is happening. The Texas Banking Commissioner is going to make a big announcement next week. Mr. Charles Cooper. He told me that I could say this. I can't say what the announcement is, but look for next week the Texas Banking Commissioner to make an announcement that will be very good for the Bitcoin community. So that press release should hit in the middle of next week. So when we think about Texas, we know that Texas has a deregulated energy grid. Bitcoin mining in Texas actually creates this natural market incentive or natural market subsidy for the development of more wind and solar in Texas. So the miners are able to be the base load on the grid because we have demand response pricing in Texas on our grid. So they're able to essentially turn on when power is cheap and turn off when it's not. So during spikes in demand, for example, when it's super hot in August and everybody's got their AC on, the miners may choose to turn off and push that power back into the grid. Now, what that does, it allows more wind and solar to be developed because West Texas is where Texas wind and solar is. But the power draw is from the population centers, Dallas, Houston, and Austin. There's grid congestion that's happening there. So these Bitcoin miners are able to be intermittent. They can be interrupted, which is huge. And they're geography agnostic. They need to be near an interconnector, but other than that, I guess if you're mining flare gas, you don't even need to be near an interconnector. Which is huge for the ESG narrative. I was able to chat with Kevin O'Leary after his talk, and he is extremely interested in investing in ESG Bitcoin. So Texas, you're able to do that in Texas. Bitcoin fits with the ethos of Texas, right? How many Texans are in the room, by the way? All right, about half. I figured there would be about 25% of the people at this conference were Texans. That was the rough number that I had in my mind. So intermittent users are able to actually decrease the amount of CO2 by 4 megatons a year. This is from a study that will be published in a few weeks by a major Texas research university. So by 4 megatons a year because they turn off when we're at peak demand, which means we don't turn on our coal power plants because coal in Texas is only used during peak demand. Those plants aren't running all the time. They're running when demand is high. Let's see. There we go. So one other announcement to make. Texas is going to host a digital assets and public policy summit in Austin on October 8th. If you go to our website, which is here, texasblockchaincouncil.org, you'll be able to sign up. We actually just launched the site today. We'll have Senator Lummis, we'll have the Texas Banking Commissioner, we'll have Nick Carter, several of the folks that were speaking in the main stage here. So we'd love to have you there, especially if you're from Texas. Come down on October 8th for that. So we're a nonprofit industry association. If you want to donate to the public policy initiatives in Texas, feel free to donate Bitcoin at this QR code. And so I've got a couple minutes. What I want to do at that time is just allow you guys to ask questions. If I can't field it, there might be one of the members of the Texas Blockchain Council in the audience who's an attorney who could field it. But there's some mics right here at the front, so feel free to come forward and ask a couple questions.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for coming up here and putting this together for us. I just have a quick question. So if you want to get involved in mining and taking advantage of the off, like the flaring that they're doing in Texas and putting a miner on there, what's the easiest way to get involved and how to just get involved in the industry?
Yeah, so see the guy in the blue shirt, like two people to your left? He's doing flare mining in Texas, so he might be a good person to connect with. No, you join the TBC. We have a mining committee. It's headed by Nathan Nichols, who was going to be able to be on stage with me, but was called away last minute. Nathan Nichols is CEO of Rhodium. So yeah, connect with a TBC or connect with some of the folks who are here. So, any other questions about, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Beside mining, is Texas thinking about defining a legal status for decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs?
The AC unit is super loud and I actually can't hear you. Sorry.
In the blockchain area, we have decentralized autonomous organizations.
Right.
And we are looking for legislations who can give them a legal status.
So the question is about DAOs and legal status in various states. So that's on the horizon. We have not done that yet. Another thing that's on the horizon, this is medium term, is a Texas, just like we have a Texas gold reserve, a Texas Bitcoin reserve. So that number go up phenomenon, imagine what that will do when states start buying Bitcoin, put it on their balance sheet. So we're going to work on that. We need to change one law in Texas that would allow municipalities and states to invest in Bitcoin and put Bitcoin on their balance sheet in their treasury. And we're going to work on that for the next session.
Can you hear me all right through the mask? I've
Yep.
got my one vaccine so far. First, I want to thank you for coming out. And second, I'm curious, have you been thinking about how the energy web chain can address some of the issues that were raised in the aftermath of the grid outages this past winter? And decentralization of energy seems to be an issue of national security.
Yeah, so again, a little hard of hearing, but I think you said the energy mix after the winter storm in Texas.
Have you been thinking about how the energy web chain can address some of the issues that were raised in the aftermath of the grid outages this past winter?
Yes, we've been thinking about it a lot. Winterization of the Texas grid is extremely expensive. We're not opposed to it, but we'd rather have more Bitcoin mining because they turn off during peak demand, and that actually creates more grid stability than winterizing natural gas and wind turbines.
Do you think energy web chain can help address some of those issues?
Very possibly. Yeah, I'd love to talk to you offline about that.
How do we make sure the Bitcoin miners actually sell the energy back to the grid? When if it's super profitable to mine Bitcoin, why would they sell it back to the grid?
Great question. So the Bitcoin miners in Texas we have a decentralized energy grid. So there's demand response pricing. They're actually able to make a market decision at any given moment on whether or not to sell the energy back to the grid or to use that energy for mining Bitcoin. So the vast majority of the time, it's more profitable to mine Bitcoin. It's when demand really spikes, which is when they sell it back, and that's exactly when Texans want them to sell it back because our friends that mine in Bitcoin, they were actually to pump hundreds of thousands of homes worth of power back into the grid during Winter Storm Uri.
But when Bitcoin price is super high, it's still much more profitable to mine Bitcoin, even
about 95% of the time it is more profitable. Yeah, you're right.
How do we get around that?
Well, we don't need to. We don't need to get around that. We just the grid is flexible and it's made more flexible by Bitcoin mining. Supply and demand. Yeah. So this is my last question.
Hi, thanks for everything you guys are doing. Quick question, I'm a veteran and there's a lot of incentives out there for veterans and startups. Would that apply to guys like us that are looking to get into crypto mining as well and doing flare type of renewable stuff?
Thank you for your service, first of all. I was in the military as well, in the Army, and hopefully you're in the Army too?
Air Force.
Oh, okay. No, I am actually not as familiar with the incentives for veterans. Anybody else military that they could help out with incentives for veteran-owned businesses?
Or any grants, loans, or anything of that nature, just for...
We'll connect. We'll connect afterwards. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm out of time. Thanks for being here. Yeah, Texas is Bitcoin country. That's all I got to say.